Virgin Australia CEO Paul Scurrah joins me. Paul, thanks for your time. It's a very busy day for you and your organisation. Going into voluntary administration, what was the final tipping point?
Well, yeah, thank you, Kieran. It is a big day for us. It was a big day yesterday. I need to point out the decision that the board made. I think it was the right decision, and it was decisive, and I think going into this earlier rather than later gives us the best chance to tidy up, become fitter, leaner and stronger on the other side of this whilst we're still in the midst of the coronavirus crisis. I think the tipping point, it's no surprise, Kieran, that airlines all over the world are struggling because of the coronavirus. Every single airline in the world has lost access to its revenue stream, and every single airline in the world is going to need some help of some sort. So we're not on our own there. Our shareholders are all airlines, so as much as they would have liked to have helped, they just weren't in a position to do so. So our board came to a prudent decision and decided to put us into voluntary administration.
And when you talk about those shareholders, we're talking about some of the big players in aviation. Can you see why the Treasurer, Josh Frydenberg, said that he wasn't going to provide a bailout for an organisation that has major shareholders with deep pockets themselves?
Well, the assumption that they have deep pockets is an inaccurate one, given that all of them are airlines exposed to the biggest crisis that's ever hit the airline industry in the world. So all of them are suffering every bit the same as we are. Those that are, and there are many of them who are getting government assistance in other parts of the world, are being asked not to spend that money in other countries, rightly so. The other point to point out here, Kieran, is we never asked for a bailout for those shareholders. As much as they wanted to help out, they conceded they couldn't, which meant that they would see a major dilution of the value of their shares by whatever package we were able to put together, and that will still happen through voluntary administration.
So it's basically a private-led response as opposed to what might have been a government loan. I know that Virgin Australia had hoped for a loan of about $1.4 billion, but you're looking now at a situation where this will be a private-led response as opposed to that by the government.
Well, I think it's going to be a market-led response, but to point out what we were in discussions with the government is important. We had a need, and we talked about it early in the piece, that we thought we had a need for up to $1.4 billion of liquidity because of the loss of our revenue stream. We know going into the crisis that our restructure plan was working well, but we also knew that our balance sheet needed some work. That $1.4 billion, knowing that, like every airline in the world knew, that there was no firm end in sight to the end of the crisis, meant that there was no certainty around how long it was going to go for, and hence very, very difficult to attract any private or market-led money. We did, on several occasions, change our approach to government to try and lessen the size of that package, to bring it down, and we came up with several different proposals that were a lot less than $1.4 billion. But in the end, we respect the government's decision, and now we have a different path to take, and it is a path that sees a future for our airline. And it's my job here to work with the administrators to make that as quick as it possibly can be, deliver us on the other side of this as a leaner, meaner, more robust competitor, and importantly, employing as many of our current staff as we can. And that is my intention.
Paul Scurrah, at your news conference earlier, you said words to the effect that Virgin Australia is a great airline, but not matched in terms of the business operation. Can you elaborate for our viewers what you meant by that?
Well, I think the viewers would all know that Virgin Australia has a great product, a great reputation. Its customer service is award-winning. The on-time running and reliability is the best in the country. It beats our competitor regularly. And we are a standout and a model for other companies in terms of culture. The only measure, which is a very important measure, where we don't excel, is on the types of returns that our investors would have expected. It must be remembered that it's taken 20 years. The first 10 years of Virgin Blue was building up to a scale where it got about 30% coverage of the market. It then had the sort of size and scale that allowed it to go into the upper end, the corporate and business market. That took an enormous investment, $6 billion from the shareholders who have now been asked to walk away from that, or they're not in the position to protect that given their positions. And in that time there was a significant capacity war, so it was not easy to make money during that period of time. But going through what we're going through now, we'll make sure that we're lean, that we have a better balance sheet, and that we will probably be the best competitor that's ever been seen to stand up against the number one in the country.
So you are, just finally, you are confident that Virgin Australia will survive this crisis?
Oh, absolutely. I think that the process we're going through now will see us being able to make the types of changes that might have taken a lot longer. I think it'll see a simplification of our business. And importantly, I think it'll see us re-emerge as a real force to be reckoned with.
You must be encouraged by the interest of more than 10 organisations, according to the administrator. That's a positive development.
Yeah, well, Kieran, we knew going into voluntary administration that there was very healthy interest. We just couldn't close any of those in time. That interest has continued, and there's been a lot more interest since this decision was made. So we are very confident that people will see the value of this asset. It is a good time to buy at the bottom of the market, which it would be in aviation right now. People know that the industry will recover and that will be a fantastic investment.
Virgin Australia CEO Paul Scurrah, we thank you for your time and wish you all the best through this challenging period for you and the airline.
Thanks very much, Kieran. We really appreciate it.